Hi there, everybody. I'm Bill Warner with EntreDot, and this is Monday Night Live with EntreDot, 7 p.m. every Monday. Tonight, I'd like to talk about business negotiations. Business negotiations. So, I've had this has come up for me several times over the last month, and I've had discussions about how to conduct certain negotiations. So I thought I'd spend some time not helping you directly with yours because they're all different, quite frankly, and have special considerations almost always. But I thought I'd go through kind of the basic concepts of how to go about this in the first place. So the kind of things I'm talking about are negotiations for services, like marketing services with contract services that you want from a marketing professional. You're going to pay them to do it. Sales agents, accounting services, negotiation for services for payment, distribution partners, which are much more complicated, wholesale price for commitment to a certain number of sales, and the list goes on. So it's all about business negotiations. We're not negotiating anything else here. So let's start with just at the top of it all, what does it take to succeed at this stuff? The way I think of it is you got to enter these discussions with a positive attitude. Be positive. Don't be a grump. Don't be domineering. Don't think you're going to dominate the other person. This is a war. You don't want it to turn into that. But you be positive. And you got to be balanced, and you balanced in that you understand that this is a two-sided discussion. There's their side and your side, and both needs are going to have to be fulfilled. Keep them in balance. You're not going to win a negotiation if it's all about you and not them, and of course, vice versa. So there's got to be benefit in the end result to both sides. This is a two-sided discussion. Both sides have to feel like they won. So these discussions are built out of mutual respect, mutual trust, maybe you put it that way. Don't be kind of this contrarian. Don't be arrogant. You are equals and treat each other that way. Be courteous, plain and simple. Overall, though, after all this nice soft stuff I just went through, be prepared for the discussion. Don't walk into a negotiation not ready to negotiate. You got to know your stuff, in other words. So let's start there. What does it mean to be prepared? What does it look like? So there are about three things here I want to talk about. One is know the other party. And what I mean by that is, first of all, know the person that you're going to be negotiating with. What role do they play in the company? Find out what you can about them personally. Are they in management? What is social media saying who they are? Go to their LinkedIn profile and other forms of biographies about them. Look at what they've written. They may have done blog articles. They may have written articles. They may have given speeches. Ask other people about them. What kind of person is Joe? What does Joe do for fun? What kind of Joe? What's it like to work for Joe? So know the person. And it takes Google being your friend. You can look this person up all over the internet and find out things about them. I'm not talking about doing background checks on these people. You don't have to quite go that far. But when you go into a discussion with someone you really don't know very well, if you have done a lot of research and know a lot about them, you're going to have lots of opportunities to relate to them. If you know they play golf, or they're members of the Chamber of Commerce, or they're chess players, or they're distance runners, or whatever. And you'll find some things that maybe you have in common with them. So the small talk that starts a negotiation could be rather readily gotten into if you know some things about them, which you can bring up in the opening conversations. The second thing you got to be prepared to know is their business. You know about yours, so I'm assuming you're walking into a conversation knowing a lot about your own company, but you have to know a lot about their company. Understand its business model. You can derive that by simply looking at their website. If there are articles written about their company, read them too, but you'll kind of get the point of what their business model is all about, how they make money. Let Google be your friend again and find out who are their competitors. They may even talk about them. When you're entering a negotiation, you probably have already talked a lot about your business to others and the kinds of initiatives you want to make into your market. You may discover their competitors. The company you're negotiating with may be in the same market as you, so you know who the major players are. But when it comes down to it, what you're trying to figure out is what are their needs. And negotiations, and at the core of it, at the very start, is founded in needs that they have, and quite frankly, needs that you have. You know your needs. You want to discover theirs. These needs that they have that perhaps have already come out in previous conversations are the ones that you're going to have to fulfill with whatever it is you're going to be offering them in this negotiation. So if you're a marketing consultant and you've talked to a company that, boy, they need a new website, the messaging doesn't seem to match their brand, and they're not taking enough benefit of social media outreach through video, online videos, and social media advertising. You know they need that. They perhaps have actually told you that. You walk into the conversation knowing these 3 or 4 things they need that you're going to be able to propose to them, and you've thought about it, and you've thought about how you're going to go about it even. It's just one example. It's part of being prepared by understanding their needs before you get there and having thought about how the heck you're going to fulfill them. So you can also find out their needs by the media coverage that they've gotten, recent market trends. My God, today the news is full of the stock market. Dow went down 1,000 points today. That's going to impact somebody. But what's really impacting them is all those manufacturers in China who closed their doors. So people who rely on technology components are really delayed. Computer companies, communications companies. So when you're talking, if you're negotiating with a technology-driven company, somebody who makes communications equipment, perhaps, they may have other things on their mind right now. How the hell are we going to get parts? How are we going to get components for our manufacturing line? And on and on. So understand what's going on in their industry, which may be very much related to yours, as I said before. So understand their business, understand them as people, understand their business, and have in mind, before you sit down and negotiate, have in mind what it is you're going to do to fulfill that need. So you know, walking into this, what you want to do, or what you think you want to do based upon all your research and perhaps previous conversations. So this fulfillment has to really deliver benefits, and quantifiably so. What you're going to be offering has to be a fair exchange for what they're going to be requiring of you. If they're offering a service, you've got to pay them a fair price, and vice versa. For example, there's got to be value, in other words, to both parties, and value usually is measured in dollars and cents. And the terms, payment terms, the actual price, how it's paid for, when it's paid for, all that sort of stuff are terms of an agreement that could result from this initial conversation. So this is the kinds of things that you got to consider to be prepared for this wonderful event that you're going to have. So you have prepared, you know them, you know the business, you've got some idea what you're going to propose, you think you know their needs. So how do you conduct this negotiation? How does this, you knock on the door, you go in, what happens next? So first of all, and I covered this a little bit in my opening remarks, be professional, be straight up, be honest, no bloviating, no BS, in other words. Don't be an a-hole. Don't let your big ego show, even though you probably have one. When asked questions, answer them and keep it straightforward and simple. I try to have people practice the 45-second answer to most anything. You can't get across in 45 seconds, then at a certain level of detail, of course, then you're probably not talking at the right level in a negotiation. You're in the weeds, so stay out of the weeds. If you're talking to another executive and you're an executive of the company, you're going to talk like executives do. Pretty net, results-oriented language, and you get on with things. So be a pro. Be real. Be you. Don't try to be something else. It'll catch you on it. Be a person. Be relatable. So we're not going to go out and have beers tonight, or we may, or dinner, because we don't know much about each other just yet. We're not dating, nothing like that. But be a person that can get in relationship in a professional way with another person, with being friendly, friendly greetings, friendly talk, allow small talk to occur. So when you walk in the door, it's just getting the understanding of each other and getting warmed up to each other. That's the way it always occurs. You walk into somebody's office and you see trophies for basketball. You might want to talk about basketball. Hey, I see you must be a really great basketball player. Who do you play for? Or you see bowling trophies. Hey, what? Ever shot a 300 game? Start with something, and you can figure it out either from your research, what you've read about them, or when you walk into the office and you see something that says something about them. Because quite often they have memorabilia around, but they're proud of. So play to it. They're going to want to love to talk about it. It's an icebreaker. So when you have got all these kind of preliminary things under your belt, you're going to start a conversation by going through the needs that they have. So a sales call is, for the most part, once you get beyond this initial stuff, is a negotiation. The first thing you want to do is get them talking about their needs. Now, you walking in the door thinking you know them already from all of your research and what people have told you. But you want them to say it to you so you can hear it directly from them. So you might give them a hint and say, look, I understand your needs kind of fall into these 3 areas or something like that. Don't get too specific. I'd love to hear you tell us more about what is on your mind and what needs you have that are yet fulfilled. You need something to help you. Let them talk. Shut up and listen. Listen. If it's the other way around and you have a need, you're going to be asked to do the same thing. So we start with each of you explaining what your needs are. You may be the solution provider and you need certain things in return, which is usually some it's usually money because you're selling a service or you're selling a product, or it's other forms of consideration for other services. Could be an exchange of services, for example. But once you two get off your chest what your needs are, or your wants as well, but mainly your needs that have to be fulfilled in this negotiation, when you shut up and listen, you're listening for something that you haven't heard yet. So we're not going to walk in the door there and blurt out what we're going to do for them. Or here's how I'm going to satisfy your need. You want to listen, this is the very last time perhaps, and let them tell you. Because then, once you've listened, and you've established a set of objectives to fulfill these needs, that's part of this needs conversation on both parties. When you express what it is you're going to do to fulfill the needs of this potential partner or customer, you can change what you were going to say in accordance with what any new news you just heard from them. That's why you shut up and listen, because you may change your mind about a little bit about how you're going to do this. So listening is important. So at the right time then, once you've gone through your proposal of how you're going to fulfill their needs, or they're going to go through their proposal to fulfill your needs, however this is going, and in the way that describes the deliverables that are going to exchange hands here, you get a little bit more depth on the terms by which these deliverables are delivered, and over time, and what the terms are for their use of these deliverables. And so details of, that'll wind up in a contract. Could be a sales contract, could be an accounting services contract, it could be a distribution agreement, it could be software development, it could be hardware manufacturing services for you, and the list goes on. But now we're in this negotiation, we're getting into the nuts and bolts, once understanding the needs and how they're going to be fulfilled, of all the details of now pricing, how payments are going to be made, the timing of payments, the timing of deliverables, what are the deliverables, what are the conditions under the acceptability of the deliverables, and the list goes on. But now you're talking about the same thing both of you want to be talking about, and not fishing around, because this whole conversation was couched in an understanding of the needs that are going to be fulfilled. If you don't have that, you better stop and go back and remind yourselves what the need we're trying to fulfill here is. Assuming you do, and if there are any issues that are unresolved, you haven't been resolved in this meeting, you log them and agree on an action plan. Joe will take a look at this, get with your guy Jim, and let's see if we can get an answer to this by next Tuesday. And do that for every single item. Write all this down, because you're going to follow up later with an email or something that says, here's great meeting, I think we're close, here are the final things we got to work out together, and here's who's working on them and when they're going to be done. So you go through these next steps. In order for you to have this last part of the conversation, I believe it would have been a good idea for you to write for yourself what you want these contract terms to be. You're not going to give it to them yet, but if you write it down, it's fresh in your mind, you've thought about it, and the exercise now is go back to your ranch and modify what you've already written. But go in there prepared, having thought about all the puts and takes of this. You're going to look a lot smarter, you're going to look a lot better prepared, you're going to look like you know what you're doing. So now, often, well, I shouldn't say often, many times, this discussion about terms, particularly when it comes to price or value, that kind of thing, you're not agreeing. Price is too high. Oh, there's not enough value there. Well, what more value do you want? What do you, oh, no. But on some of these terms, like on price, in an equity investment conversation, it might be on pre-money value or the cap on your convertible note. Things that are pretty hardcore things. You have a walkaway point. There's a point in a negotiation beyond which you'll go. You will not go, sorry. You don't want to go beyond this point. You will not go beyond $2.5 million valuation of my company, pre-money value for my startup. I will not go below $4.95 manufacturing costs for my widget. I will not go below 35% wholesale discount. And on and on and on. You've done your homework. You've done the financial implications of all this. You may, if you're pushed to one of those limits, have to say, I'm sorry, we can't make a deal. I'll think about it further, but these terms are not terms I can accept. It doesn't look like we're going to get there. So I appreciate your time. And you get up and go away. And that'll cause all sorts of interesting effects. If it really wasn't a good deal and you both agree, then you gain respect and you're not going to do business together this time. But you haven't created an enemy in the process. You perhaps connected with someone with whom you gain a certain amount of mutual respect. So in the case though that it's a go, I think these terms are right. One of you, the one proposing the services, writes a contract for the other to agree. I'll get with my lawyers, we'll put this together, get this together in 48 hours, blah, 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 whatever. So you reach agreement and go for closure. But sometimes you're not comfortable doing these negotiations. You need help, you need professional help, and that's okay. If you're the owner of the company, my view is you're the negotiator. I'm going to think a whole lot less if you've got to bring Joe in, who's a business consultant. He's going to speak for you. So what the hell am I doing business with this guy for? Again, he represents his own company and the position of it. But you can bring in consultants to advise you, particularly in tough subjects like mergers and acquisitions and equity investment in your company. And maybe you need other industry experts who have contacts elsewhere in the industry that can advise you, guide you. They may know who you're negotiating with. You, of course, are going to need legal help. It's going to be a contract, but have the legal person advise you from the very beginning on the terms you're about to thrust on them. A CFO kind of individual, a financial individual, you've probably done a financial forecast of some kind for this deal. And have the person go through it with you and let them say, yeah, I think this is about right. You're going to make a considerable amount of money as long as you stay with this price and this assumed volume, whatever. So the net of all this is negotiations are built on a relationship that's founded in mutual trust. And if you're not establishing that, it's going to be a tough row to hoe. So keep that in mind. But it's all founded, as I said, in understanding the needs of one another and satisfying them. So at the end of the negotiation, you both feel like you won. You got great benefit. Know the details before you walk into the negotiation, and get this whole thing to contract to finalize it. There you have it. I see I have one question here, and that is, aren't there ever one-sided negotiations? And I actually read about this one in an article I read a few days ago. The person could think of one. It's, if I'm buying a car, I'm not going to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm going to get the best price and the most features as I possibly can. I don't give a crap if this guy makes money or not, because the system they work in is paying them plenty. Well, I'm probably dead wrong on that, but a more serious answer to this question is hardly ever are these one-sided. Don't even think about them that way. There's always two sides. It's, I'm going to give you this if you give me that. It's money, it's services, and it's got to feel like both businesses have benefited from it. No one-sidedness. One-sidedness will produce a future enemy, a future unhappy partner, and the relationship will fall apart. The basis for the walkaway. That's another question, and I'll wrap it up here. The basis for a walkaway is don't lose money. If you've walked into a negotiation, you pretty well understand your numbers, and the price that they're demanding, or the price they're willing to pay, do not provide you a profitable situation. That's a basis for walking away. It's usually financial. There are other bases. If the relationship just isn't working, I can't stand this guy. He's arrogant, and I'm not going to have a long-term relationship with this person. I can't get along with him. We don't see eye to eye on the market. So if the relationship just isn't working, don't yell and scream about it. You say, look, I just don't think this is going to work. And you say why. Be professional and balanced about it. But you'd walk away from a relationship that is with another individual that just isn't going to work. You have to give too much. Okay, that's it for Monday night. We did 27 minutes here, a little overtime. Important subject, though. I hope it was helpful. And this will be recorded, of course, and I will replay this for others tomorrow. Have a great evening. This is Bill Warner with EntreDot. See you soon.